I should have known everything was lost the moment I saw Olivia's name, my sister's name, on that list. But I'm getting ahead of myself. To understand how I lost everything, my husband, my family, my dignity, you need to know how certain I was that I deserved better. 6 months ago, I was sitting at our kitchen table, waiting for Ethan to come home from work. I'd rehearsed my speech a dozen times with my friend Brooke, who happened to be a divorce lawyer. "You deserve to be happy," she'd said. "Life's too short to settle." Those words echoed in my head as I heard Ethan's key in the lock. Now, I'm sitting in my one-bedroom apartment in Portland, staring at a photo on Instagram. My sister Olivia posted it yesterday. Her and Ethan with my daughters at Crater Lake, looking like the perfect family. The family that should have been mine. The caption reads, "Perfect summer day with my favorite people." The heart emoji at the end feels like a knife twisting. But let me start from the beginning, when I thought I was making the brave choice. Ethan and I had been married for 12 years. We met when I was 23, fresh out of college and working at a marketing firm. He was 28, an engineer at a tech startup with these gentle brown eyes and a laugh that made everyone in the room smile. We were the couple everyone envied. Stable careers, beautiful home in the suburbs, 2 perfect daughters. From the outside, we had everything. The 4-bedroom house with the white picket fence, the SUV with the "My child is an honor student" bumper sticker, annual vacations to Hawaii, Friday date nights at our favorite Italian restaurant, Sunday barbecues with the neighbors, the American dream, packaged and delivered. But somewhere along the way, that dream started feeling like a cage. It wasn't Ethan's fault. Not really. He was a good man, devoted father, reliable provider, the kind of husband who never forgot anniversaries and always put the toilet seat down. But after 12 years, his predictability had become suffocating. It wasn't just the routine. It was the quiet veto of anything that deviated from the plan. When I wanted to take a spontaneous trip to the coast, he'd gently remind me of the lawn care schedule. When I suggested we try a new restaurant, he'd smile and say, "But we love our Italian place." His love felt like a beautifully decorated room with all the windows painted shut. Every morning he'd kiss my forehead at exactly 7:15 before leaving for work. Every evening he'd ask about my day while scrolling through his phone. Every Saturday we'd have sex after the kids went to bed. 15 minutes of routine intimacy before he'd roll over and start snoring. I wanted more. I wanted passion, excitement. Someone who looked at me like I was a mystery to solve instead of a problem already figured out. That's when Logan entered the picture. I met him at a work conference in Seattle. He was giving a presentation on innovative marketing strategies, and I was mesmerized, not just by his ideas, but by his confidence, his charisma, the way he commanded the room. He was everything Ethan wasn't: spontaneous, ambitious, dangerous. "Great questions during the Q&A, he said, approaching me at the cocktail reception. "You really made me think." "Just doing my job," I replied, trying to ignore the flutter in my stomach. "Let me buy you a drink. I'd love to hear more about your perspectives." 1 drink became 3. 3 became dinner. Dinner became walking through downtown Seattle at midnight, talking about everything and nothing. When he walked me to my hotel room, I knew I should say goodnight. Instead, I invited him in for 1 more drink. We didn't sleep together that night, but something shifted. We exchanged numbers, connected on LinkedIn, started texting about work projects that gradually became more personal. He was married too, with 2 young kids, but he understood what it was like to feel trapped in a life that looked perfect from the outside. "My wife and I are like business partners," he confided during one of our phone calls. "We manage the house, the kids, the schedules, but the spark, that died years ago." "I know exactly what you mean," I whispered, even though Ethan was downstairs watching TV. The emotional affair lasted 3 months before anything physical happened. Brooke knew everything. She was my confidant, my enabler, my voice of reason when guilt crept in. "You're not a bad person for wanting more," she'd say over wine at our weekly dinners. Women sacrifice so much. It's okay to choose yourself for once. The first time Logan and I slept together was after another work meeting in Seattle. I told Ethan I was visiting a college friend for the weekend. The lies came so easily by then, each one building a wall between my two lives. That weekend was everything my marriage wasn't. Passionate, spontaneous, alive. Logan made me feel like I was 25 again, desirable and dangerous. We talked about a future together, how he'd leave his wife, how I'd leave Ethan, how we'd start fresh somewhere new. "We deserve this," he said, tracing patterns on my bare shoulder. "We deserve to be happy." I believed him. God help me, I believed every word. When I came home Sunday night, Ethan had made my favorite dinner. The girls had drawn me pictures. "We missed you, Mommy," my youngest said, wrapping her arms around my legs. The guilt was overwhelming, but I pushed it down. I was doing this for them too, I told myself. They deserved a mother who was truly happy. The decision to ask for divorce crystallized over the next month. Logan was pushing for us to make it official. "I'm ready to leave everything for you," he'd text. "Are you ready for me?" Brooke drew up the papers, walked me through Washington's divorce laws, coached me on what to say. "Be firm," she advised. "Don't let him guilt you into staying. You've made your decision." That night, sitting at our kitchen table, I waited for Ethan like an executioner. When he walked in, tired from a long day at work, I saw the exact moment he realized something was wrong. His shoulders tensed, his eyes searched my face. "We need to talk," I said. He sat down slowly and I launched into my prepared speech. I wanted a divorce. It wasn't his fault. We'd grown apart. I needed to find myself. All the cliches that somehow felt profound when Brooke had helped me rehearse them. Ethan's response surprised me. No yelling, no tears, no begging. He just sat there, absorbing each word like a physical blow. When I finished, he was quiet for so long I thought he might not respond at all. "Is there someone else?" he finally asked. "That's not what this is about," I lied. He studied my face, and I saw the moment he knew. But he didn't push. Instead, he said, "I love you, Jess. I love our family. If there's any part of you that remembers why we built this life together, please reconsider." "It's too late," I said, the words tasting like ash. What followed was strangely civilized. Ethan agreed to everything, the separation, the custody arrangement, the financial split. He said he'd move out, find an apartment near his work. He'd take the girls on Wednesdays and weekends. No fighting, no drama. It was almost disappointing how easily he accepted it. "I mentioned this to Brooke," I said. "She's helping with the legal aspects." Something flickered in his eyes. "You've been planning this for a while." It wasn't a question. That night, Ethan slept on the couch. I lay in our bed, texting Logan about our future. "Soon," he promised. "We'll be together soon." The next few weeks passed in a blur of logistics. Ethan found an apartment, started packing his things. We told the girls together, Daddy needed to live somewhere else for a while, but we both loved them very much. They cried, of course, asked if it was their fault. The guilt was suffocating, but I kept reminding myself, short-term pain for long-term happiness. Ethan moved out on a Saturday. Watching him load boxes into his car, I felt a strange mix of relief and panic. This was really happening. I was really doing this. That night, alone in our house, my house now, I called Logan. "He's gone," I said. "I did it." "That's wonderful, baby. We should celebrate." "When are you telling Patricia?" Silence. Then, "Soon. I just need to figure out the right approach. You know how volatile she can be." A tiny alarm bell rang in my head, but I silenced it. Of course he needed time. He had 2 kids. It was complicated. But soon became next month, became after the holidays, became increasingly creative excuses. Logan was always on the verge of leaving, always planning the perfect exit strategy. Meanwhile, I was living alone, fielding questions from friends and family, pretending everything was fine. The 90-day separation period felt endless. Ethan was frustratingly perfect. Never late for pickups, always polite, never giving me any ammunition to justify my decision. The girls would come home chattering about their weekends with Daddy, how he'd taken them to the zoo, taught them to ride bikes, made their favorite pancakes. Daddy seems sad, my oldest mentioned one Sunday night. Is it because you don't love him anymore? Of course I love Daddy, I lied. Sometimes grown-ups just need space. Like a timeout? Exactly like a timeout. But she looked at me with eyes too knowing for a 7-year-old. Meanwhile, Logan's promises were evaporating. Our meetings became less frequent. His texts grew shorter. When I finally confronted him, demanding to know when he was leaving Patricia, he sighed like I was being unreasonable. These things take time, Jess. You can't rush a divorce when kids are involved. I did, I pointed out. That's different. Ethan's accommodating. Patricia would destroy me. She'd take everything. So what am I supposed to do? Wait forever? Just be patient. We'll be together. I promise. But promises, I was learning, meant nothing. The truth came crashing down 2 weeks before the divorce was final. Logan stopped responding to my texts, stopped answering calls. When I drove by his office, his car wasn't there. Finally, desperate, I called his office directly. Logan Morrison. He transferred to our Chicago branch last week, the receptionist chirped. Would you like that number? Chicago. He'd moved to Chicago without telling me. I sat in my car, shaking. Called him from a blocked number. Patricia answered. Hello? Her voice was calm, curious, like she had no idea I even existed. I hung up. They were together. He'd chosen her, chosen his family, chosen everything except me. I drove home in a daze, walked into my empty house and screamed until my throat was raw. Then I called Brooke. He left, I sobbed. He went back to her. Oh, honey, she said, but her sympathy sounded hollow. I'm so sorry, but maybe this is for the best. Maybe now you'll finally learn who you really are. Focus on myself. I'd destroyed my marriage to focus on myself. And myself was alone in a house that felt too big, with daughters who missed their father and a future I'd burned to the ground. The divorce was finalized on a Tuesday. Ethan and I sat in the lawyer's office, signing papers that dissolved 12 years with a few pen strokes. When it was done, I looked at him, searching for anger or sadness or something, but his face was calm, resolved. I hope you find what you're looking for, he said quietly, then left. I sat in my car afterward, holding the papers that officially made me single. Free, available for the life I'd thought I wanted. The life that had evaporated the moment I'd reached for it. That night, I did something pathetic. I drove to Ethan's apartment. I needed to talk to someone who knew me, really knew me, even if I'd thrown him away. When he opened the door, I must have looked as destroyed as I felt because his expression softened. Jess, what's wrong? Everything poured out. Logan, the lies, the abandonment. How I'd thrown away our marriage for a fantasy. How sorry I was. How stupid I'd been. Ethan listened without interrupting. When I finished, he handed me a glass of water and sat beside me on his second-hand couch. Do you still love him? He asked. The question broke something in me. I don't know. I don't know anything anymore. I'm sorry you're hurting, he said, but I can't be your comfort anymore. You need to figure this out on your own. Ethan, please, I made a mistake. Can't we? No. His voice was gentle but firm. You made a choice, multiple choices, and I've made mine. I've moved on. Moved on? The words hit like ice water. Are you seeing someone? I asked, even though I had no right. That's not your concern anymore. I left his apartment that night, understanding something I'd been too blind to see. I'd had everything, and I'd thrown it away for nothing. The next few months were a blur of regret and rebuilding. I threw myself into work, into being present for the girls when I had them. But the weekends they spent with Ethan stretched endlessly. I'd walk through our house, my house, touching furniture we'd picked together, looking at photos I couldn't bring myself to take down. My family was polite but distant. My mother, who'd adored Ethan, could barely hide her disappointment. "He was such a good man," she'd sigh whenever his name came up. My younger sister Olivia was the only one who seemed genuinely sympathetic, checking on me regularly. She'd always had a soft spot for Ethan, once joking at a family barbecue that if I ever got tired of him, she'd be first in line. We'd all laughed then. Now, she offered to help with the girls. "You made a mistake," she said one afternoon over coffee. "But everyone deserves forgiveness." "Tell that to Ethan," I replied bitterly. "He'll come around," she said, her gaze steady. "Just give him time." But time passed, and Ethan didn't come around. He was polite, cordial, focused entirely on co-parenting. When I suggested we try counseling for the girls, he declined. When I accidentally scheduled pickups during dinner time, hoping he'd stay, he'd wait in the car. Then came the day that changed everything. I'd left my laptop charger at Ethan's apartment after dropping off the girls. When I knocked, he called out that the door was open. I found him in the kitchen, making dinner. "It's on the counter," he said without looking up. "How are the girls today?" "Good. Emma's getting so tall." I lingered, watching him cook. He'd learned new recipes, I noticed. "That smells amazing." "Thanks, it's..." He stopped, noticing me looking at something on his counter. It was a notebook, open to a page with names. Women's names. Jennifer from accounting, Lisa from the gym, Sarah from the coffee shop. And there, in the middle, circled twice, Olivia, my sister. My sister's name was on my ex-husband's list of potential dates. "What is this?" My voice shook. Ethan glanced at the notebook, then at me. His expression didn't change. "Exactly what it looks like." "You made a list? Like I'm some task you've completed and now you're moving on to the next?" "Yes." The simplicity of his answer stunned me. "And Olivia, my sister?" "Your sister," he confirmed, "who's been very kind during a difficult time." "You can't be serious. That's sick. It's vindictive." Vindictive? For the first time since I'd asked for divorce, I saw real emotion in his eyes, a cold fire I never knew he possessed. "Vindictive is booking a hotel in Seattle on our anniversary weekend, Jess. Vindictive is letting me comfort our crying children while you text the man you're sleeping with. Vindictive is telling me, it's not you, it's me, when we both know you threw this all away for someone you barely knew. This," he said, tapping the notebook, "is just me moving on. You should be happy for me. Isn't that what you wanted? For us to both find happiness?" "She's my sister. And Logan was someone's husband. That didn't stop you." The parallel hit like a slap. "If you dare..." "What?" He stepped closer. "What will you do, Jess? You gave up any say in my life when you decided yours would be better without me in it." I grabbed my charger and fled, my mind reeling. In the car, I called Olivia immediately. "Did Ethan contact you?" I demanded. "What? No, why? He has your name on a list, a dating list." Silence. Then, "Oh, that's all you have to say?" "Jess, I should tell you something." My stomach dropped. No. "He called me last week. We talked. He wanted to make sure it wouldn't be too weird, given everything." "And?" More silence. "Olivia, please tell me you said no." A pause, colder than the silence before it. "Why would I do that, Jess? He's a good man. You of all people should know that." I hung up. Threw my phone. Screamed. My perfect supportive sister was considering dating my ex-husband. The betrayal felt like acid in my veins. But the worst was yet to come. 2 weeks later, Ethan texted asking if I could come by his apartment. He had something important to discuss about the girls. When I arrived, already defensive, the door opened. It was Olivia. "Come in," she said quietly. I stood frozen in the doorway. My sister, in my ex-husband's apartment, wearing his college sweatshirt. Not just any sweatshirt. It was the faded gray University of Washington one, the one he wore on lazy Sundays, the one that used to smell like him when I'd steal it from the laundry. Seeing it on her was a violation more intimate than if I'd walked in on them in bed. It was an occupation of a life, a memory, that was supposed to be mine. "How long?" I managed. "A few weeks," Ethan said, appearing behind her. "We wanted to tell you properly." "Properly? Properly?" "Jess, please," Olivia started. Just don't." I looked between them, saw how Olivia's hand rested naturally on Ethan's arm, how he stood slightly protective beside her, how comfortable they looked together. "We didn't plan this," Olivia said. "It just happened." "Nothing just happens," I spat. "You made choices, both of you." "Like you did," Ethan said quietly. And there it was. The truth I'd been running from. I'd made my choices, and now I had to live with everyone else's. I left without another word. Drove home blinded by tears. The perfect life I'd thrown away had been rebuilt without me, and I was the architect of my own exclusion. 3 months later, I saw the Instagram post. Olivia and Ethan with my daughters at Crater Lake. They looked happy, natural, like a family. My family. The one I'd discarded for a man who'd discarded me the moment things got difficult. I stared at that photo for hours, read the comments from mutual friends. "So happy for you. You guys are perfect together. The girls look so happy." They did look happy. Happier than they'd looked in months with me. That night, I finally asked myself the question I'd been avoiding. What have I done? I'd had a good man who loved me, who would have done anything for our family. I'd had stability, partnership, a future, and I'd burned it all down for excitement, for passion, for a fantasy sold to me by a man who was selling the same fantasy to his wife. Now Ethan had moved on, found someone who appreciated what I'd taken for granted. Someone who happened to share my DNA, who knew all my secrets, who'd seen exactly how I'd destroyed everything and chosen him anyway. The irony was perfect. Painful, but perfect. I picked up my phone to text Ethan, typed and deleted a dozen messages, finally settled on, "I'm sorry for everything." He responded an hour later, "I know, take care of yourself, Jess. Take care of yourself." The same words Logan had used when he'd ended things. The same words that meant, "You're on your own now." I poured a glass of wine and stood at my window, looking out at the suburban street where other families were living their perfectly imperfect lives. Where wives were annoyed at their husbands for forgetting to take out the trash. Where husbands were scrolling through their phones instead of listening. Where the mundane irritations of marriage were just that. Mundane, survivable, part of the texture of a shared life. I'd traded all of that for 3 months of hotel rooms and broken promises, for the thrill of being someone's secret instead of someone's forever. My phone buzzed. Brooke asking if I wanted to grab drinks. I declined. Somehow, the person who'd encouraged me to choose myself was the last person I wanted to see, because I had chosen myself. And myself, it turned out, was a fool who'd mistaken comfort for complacency, stability for stagnation, deep love for mere routine. Ethan hadn't been perfect. Our marriage hadn't been a fairy tale. But it had been real, and solid, and worth fighting for. I just hadn't realized that until I'd already set it on fire. Now I was 35, divorced, and watching my ex-husband fall in love with my sister. Watching him give her the attention I'd claimed he never gave me. Watching my daughters bloom under their care while I became the every other weekend parent. I'd wanted passion. I'd gotten destruction. I'd wanted excitement. I'd gotten abandonment. I'd wanted more. I'd ended up with so much less. The wine tasted bitter, but I drank it anyway. Tomorrow, I'd drop the girls off at Ethan's and pretend it didn't kill me to see Olivia making breakfast in what used to be my kitchen. I'd smile and be polite and swallow the jealousy that threatened to choke me. Because this was the life I'd chosen. The life where I was free to find myself, and myself turned out to be exactly what I'd always feared. Not enough. Not enough to keep Logan. Not enough to win Ethan back. Not enough to compete with my own sister for the life I'd thrown away. I raised my glass to the empty room. To choosing yourself, I said bitterly. The silence that answered was deafening. No applause, no comfort. Just the echo of a woman who mistook destruction for empowerment. And the quiet certainty that no one was coming to save her.